If you've made it to this video, it's because you've successfully showed your low back that it's safe to move, it can move pain-free, and that you've started to introduce some lower resistance, simpler exercises. In this video, you're going to see a little bit more complex exercises and things that are multi-joint. So we would refer to maybe more as compound lifts. Be patient with these, progress slowly over time. The plank exercise, while a very popular exercise, is actually a pretty advanced exercise for building resilience in the lower back and developing more core strength. So when we start, it's important to make sure that we're finding the right resistance for us. For you, that might mean doing a plank on your knees, or potentially using an incline, like for instance, putting your hands up on a bench. For the purposes of this video, we're going to do this on the floor in a standard plank with our toes on the ground. To set up, we want our wrists under our shoulders, and we want to protect our back. So we're going to use strength on the front side of the body to support the lower back. In doing so, what we're thinking about is crunching through our abdomen, squeezing our glutes, and adding just a little bit of a tuck to our tailbone. Try to keep those shoulders away from the ears. Make sure you're maintaining your breathing. And if we can accomplish this, then we can start to talk about progressing to limb movement in your plank. Some examples of limb movement would be feet movement while maintaining rigidity through the rest of the body. Another example would be moving the hands. And for this, you might start by setting up with a wider position through your feet. We can try taps, or if you have an object, we can pull an object through from side to side. At the end of the day, we always want to make sure that our plank is firm, isn't moving, and that we can maintain our breathing with no discomfort in the low back or anywhere else in our body. A very important step in progressing lower back resilience is making sure that you can properly hinge. And in order to teach the hinge, what we really like to do at Bent on Better is introduce a dowel to help show spinal stability while we're moving our hips through extension, or flexion rather, into extension. So what we're going to do with the dowel is place it at 3 points on our back. 1 point at the back of the head, 1 point between the shoulder blades, and 1 point down at the lower spine or on the back of the sacrum. Once you've nailed all 3 of those points, we're going to make sure that the dowel doesn't move off of them. Pretend like you've stapled it to all 3 of those points. And we're going to introduce hip motion with a soft bit of knee motion. So what you're seeing right here is a very large hip angle, so there's flexion in the hip, small knee angle, so a little bit of flexion in the knee, and then I'm going to reverse that to stand tall with hip extension, or coming up to straight position, and knee extension. While doing this exercise, I'm focusing on keeping my feet flat on the ground, keeping all 3 of those points of the dowel in contact, and breathing. Of course, who could forget breathing? After we've gotten really good at using the dowel to hinge and practice with confidence, we're going to get rid of it, and we're going to start to introduce loaded hinging into the mix. So for this, we're going to try and move a load from the ground to a tall standing position. In order to set it up, you want to make sure that the load you're using, if it can go between your legs, is set up in line with your ankle bones. Try not to place it too far in front of your body, as that's going to increase stress on the low back as you're lifting. And of course, we're trying to build low back resilience here. Make sure you keep your hinge strong. So imagine you still have that dowel on your back. Hinge into position. Make your arms nice and long. The longer you can stretch your arms toward the ground, and the tighter we can make that pack through our shoulders, the more improved deadlift we'll have. Once you're latched on, keep your feet flat on the ground, and reverse that hinge to a nice tall standing position. Come back down, hinge slowly, place the weight on the ground, and go again. When you're standing up, make sure you stand up tall, and breathe. Progress slowly with patience. The single arm farmer carry is an advancement of the double arm farmer carry. And the reason being is because now we have a weight on just one side of our body, and we have to work really hard to make sure that our body doesn't compensate or lean into it. This would be an example of compensating by leaning away from it. If we can perform this exercise while staying nice, straight, and tall, and potentially using counterbalance with another arm, or your free arm here, out to the side, we're going to help improve the strength of our QL muscle also known as the quadratus lumborum. We're going to also improve the strength and the stability of the glute medius muscle, which sits on the outer edge of the hip. The combination of strength and stability in both of these muscles is going to help improve your walks, your jogs, your runs, and just about anything else that requires a nice, strong, tall posture while you're performing that exercise. Don't forget to switch arms and make sure you're breathing. The Pallof Press is a fantastic exercise for developing unilateral stability, much like in our farmer carry. What we're going to do to start off is make sure we have an anchored resistance band with or without a handle. Make sure that that anchor is secure. We're going to pull it out so that we're side facing. Keep it centered with your chest. And while trying to tense up the body that's closest to the anchor, we're going to try and move that band out away from the body and back in while maintaining good breathing, strong, tall posture, and not letting those shoulders creep up to the ears to compensate. So we're going to keep our shoulders relaxed. And in the process, what you should feel working the hardest is going to be the side of your abdomen closest to the anchor. If you feel this strictly in your arms, try starting with tension all the way down at your foot and slowly build up all the way up your body, up to your shoulder. So we'll start by really gripping the ground with the foot, tensing and squeezing both sides of the thigh, tensing the glute muscles, and last, but most importantly, tensing the abdomen. So you can think about zippering up the abdomen closest to the anchor without losing your height. Remember to breathe and switch sides. An advancement of the Pallof press would be an isometric press. So in other words, a Pallof press with rotation. So while keeping the band out here and following all the same stability producing techniques that we had in the Pallof press, or cramping up or tensing the muscles on our side of our body closest to the anchor, we're going to hold that band out and try and quickly rotate away from the anchor. While you're doing this, you have two options. One, you can keep the hips pointed forward and mostly just rotate through the upper body. Or two, twist a little bit more through the hips and simulate more of an athletic movement like a golf swing. Don't forget to breathe. Use those sharp exhales as you're rotating, and don't forget to switch sides as well. All right, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and stay tuned for more.